Tokyo is a behemoth of a city. I think it naturally makes one want to see it from a greater distance, from some perspective that will give a better understanding of just how big it is. In this video, we'll be giving you a guide to our 4 favorite views of Tokyo. Tokyo Tower is easily one of the prettiest structures in Tokyo. The bright red and white paint makes it really aesthetically pleasing. We think the top deck is a little overpriced, but the main deck itself has a really great view and is significantly cheaper. It's definitely not that tall, which means that some of the surrounding buildings do go quite a bit higher than where you stand on the observation deck, but I don't mind it too much. Because you're in the center of Tokyo surrounded by skyscrapers, the view feels really 3D. The main deck isn't too crowded even at sunset, and it is a really beautiful perspective of the city. Tokyo Tower is a little older, so it won't quite feel as futuristic as somewhere like Shibuya Sky or Tokyo Skytree, but I don't think it ends up being that much of a detriment. Tokyo Skytree is the 3rd tallest man-made structure in the world. It's incredibly impressive from the bottom, and the view from the top can only be described as like looking out of an airplane window. When my brother saw a B-reel of me up here, he genuinely asked if I was on a flight. It is really, really tall.
Dang. This is pretty good.
The tower is somewhat on the outskirts of Tokyo, really close to the Asakusa area, so they make a really good combo. It has 2 decks, but we don't really think the top deck is that worth it. The bottom deck is much less crowded, and the view is virtually the same. I especially really enjoy the view here at night. Odaiba Seaside Park isn't like the other spots in today's video in that it isn't a really tall building. Odaiba is an artificial island located in Tokyo Bay, and it gives a really unique perspective of the city. I would say it's not quite as visually impressive, but it's easily the most low-key and probably the most romantic spot too. It's really easy to find spots where you can essentially be totally alone. The light sound of the water and the feeling of the wind, plus the view, all combine to give you a really wonderful experience. This was one of the first spots I visited in Tokyo, and for me, I could easily go back again and again. In my mind, this is also the most family-friendly spot on the list. For 700 yen, you can also go up to the Fuji TV Observatory, which is a 2-minute walk from the waterfront itself.
Actually, this is pretty darn good.
Pretty, huh?
I'm impressed.
The view is slightly better, but it does close at 6 p.m., which really makes it impossible to watch the sunset 6 months out of the year. It's not very crowded most of the time, but you definitely won't be able to find anywhere to be alone as you might right next to the water. The final place on our list is Shibuya Sky. It is a little more on the crowded side, and you have to make sure you buy tickets in advance. But this very new open-air glass-walled observatory deck is hard to match. It's located right on the top of Shibuya Station, which means it's incredibly central. Personally, I think the glass walls make it overall really aesthetically pleasing and make it a great spot for photos. It also does have a lower level that is a little less crowded and still has floor-to-ceiling glass walls. This spot probably does feel the most touristy, which isn't our favorite thing, but it's a really cool experience, so we think it's worth it overall.
The thing about Tokyo that's different from anywhere else I've been is it just doesn't end. Like most cities that I'm familiar with, especially in the States, like, they're big for a while, but then they just, there's like trees or something off in the distance. But Tokyo is just forever and ever and ever.
Now for a few honorable mentions. These places still have great views, they're just not our favorites. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building has a 45th floor observatory deck that actually manages to be free. The problem is though, because it's free, it can get really crowded around sunset, and in my mind, it somewhat ruins the experience. You definitely have to wait for other people to move if you actually want to stand by the window. If you come a little bit earlier in the day, it is definitely less crowded, so I would recommend that. It is completely free, so if you're on a budget, this might be the place for you. Roppongi Hills Mori Tower is a 54-story, 238-meter tall skyscraper located right in the center of Tokyo. The roof is open air and has a small walkway that goes around the perimeter of the building. The view itself is great. Because of how central it is, you really feel like you're in the city, and the view feels very 3D, a lot like Tokyo Tower. The experience itself, though, is somewhat lackluster. It seemed to me that the roof was retrofitted as an observation deck rather than it being the original intent.
Well, it's still a really good view. Like, this is an amazing view. But it just kind of feels like an afterthought. Like, it feels like they were like, oh, we have a roof. We could sell tickets, you know? Like, we can't walk over there. Like, that's not allowed. And we've got a bunch of guards here, like, very closely watching over us. Which I guess makes sense, because, I mean, you know, it's like a 55-story building, but
They didn't just mean to build.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as refined.
The building's air conditioning units and other equipment do block some of the view, not to mention the AC system is really loud, which definitely kind of takes away from the experience. One thing it does have going for it is that it is really not very crowded at all. I know Chris from Abroad in Japan recommends this as his top spot for the view, but it's just not our favorite.
I mean, we were just talking, it's still an amazing view. Like, you're getting an amazing view, but it's just, I don't know, Shibuya Sky is pretty much the same thing.
If you can handle the noise and the somewhat rough around the edges experience and really want to avoid the crowds, then Mori Tower might be the spot for you. Now a bit of advice that applies to each place. Tokyo can be somewhat hazy, especially in the summer, so in terms of having the best view, we recommend coming on a clear day during the colder months of the year, if you have the flexibility, of course. Rain will also clear out a lot of smog, so coming recently after a rainy day can really increase the visibility overall. We did make individual videos about all of our favorite spots, and the links for those are in the description. If you want to help planning your trip to Japan, or if you're interested in a private tour, please check out our website. Link is also in the description. Thanks for watching, everyone.